Hello and welcome to another episode of Когда, or if you want to be boring, What, Where, When, the clever lateral thinking game where you have just a minute that separates you from success or defeat. We have our regular panelists with us today. We have Nick Gates.
Good evening.
Dan Peake.
Aloha.
And Lewis Murphy.
Hello there.
And you've been on the show, this is your fourth time. How do you think you're working together as a team?
I think pretty well. Normally one of us will start down an alley and we'll either decide together pretty much immediately whether it's a good way to go or clearly wrong. I think we're quite good at working out what the correct answer is, whether you found it, when you find it. So it's working out quite well, I think.
And do you think you're getting better at the game as time goes on?
Wait till the end of this episode.
All right. Well, let's see what happens then. We have our regular roulette wheel of 13 questions. Each of those you can solve within a 1 minute time limit. If you get it right, it's a point for you. If you don't, it's a point for the audience, which counts as me and the rest of the people that have sent in questions for this episode. One other little rule: if you're really sure of an answer, you can shout answer straight away, and if you're correct, you get that minute carried forward to a later question in this episode. Okay, Nick, you're the team captain for today, so off we go. Pick a number.
Number one.
Number one. Okay. To the nearest hour, what is the official course record for the fastest person to have completed the full London Marathon of 26 miles, 385 yards, as a valid competitor on the day of the event, with no special privileges, in full view of the TV cameras, marshals, and crowds?
Well, the obvious answer is... I'm wondering, is it 1 hour? Is it someone who's like one of the disabled competitors doing under an hour 30? Because that would be 1 hour then, wouldn't it? Because normally it's meant to be 2 hours.
How long does Paula Radcliffe or like is that about 2 hours?
About two and a half hours. About 2 hours for the men.
What is the trick to this question? No special privileges.
The disabled race is not a special race. It's just one that starts first.
And it is the full distance.
I'm sorry?
I like the idea of the wheelchair race, which happens before. I do like that event. I was thinking, what about just normal traffic? Because it just says completing the course, but that it's still got to be in front of TV cameras, marshals, and crowds. Although there are CCTV, but no marshals.
That's true.
So, but I like your idea of the wheelchair race.
Okay, Nick, what you going to go for?
1.
Is right. So it's not to do with like the individual times. Just because you start 5 hours later, that means that your time is 5 hours late. It's still to do with your official time from start line to finish line. But you are correct. What happened was I think the record was set in 2009 by an Australian wheelchair racer. And the wheelchair racers actually go quicker than the runners. And the record is something like 1 hour 28. So rounded to the nearest hour, it would be 1 hour. So that's the trick as far as you sorted out pretty quickly, but as far as the trick to the question goes, that is it. For men, it's something like 2 hours and 6 minutes. And there's a lot of speculation as to whether a 2 hour marathon is ever going to be possible. But that's right. So you sussed that on very quickly. So point on the board straight away. Okay, let's go with Dan for our next question, please.
Number 9, please.
Number 9. Okay, here we go. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. Though few people know the good book chapter and verse these days, what is notable about this Bible passage?
For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. It's not one of those phrases that has all the letters of the alphabet, there's Z in it.
Is it one of those things where one of those famous misprints made it mangled and gave it a different meaning?
Oh, that's very possible.
Could be something like that. Is it one of these things that's just not in the Bible despite people thinking it is?
That's
I'm just trying to read
notable
that.
about this Bible passage. Yeah, maybe.
Because, I mean, this all sounds familiar, but I don't know. I think it would be in the Bible, though.
Yeah, I think it would be. What was your answer again, Lewis? I've forgotten already for some reason.
It's one of those misprints. Like,
Misprints, that's it, yeah. So write that down. Can you remember what was misprinted? You can work out what's misprinted in it. No, but I think for some reason that sounds quite
Maybe
good.
an extra knot or something.
Okay. Right, you've got to give us an answer. There you go, Nick.
It's famously misprinted in the King James Bible.
Okay, the answer is it's John 3:16.
Ah.
Right.
So what is John 3:16?
I don't know.
Is it just a particularly referenced passage that people will just use as shorthand for something? I feel like I recognise the term John 3:16, but
Yeah, it's the phrase. That is popped up.
I'll admit I recognise it more from wrestling as Austin 3:16, but that's not actually in the Bible.
No, it's the one that people have on signs at sports grounds and things like that. And there was one man that was famous for holding it up, and he gained a lot of sort of fame through that, and so it became a famous thing that pops up, and it's been on all sorts of things, like hidden on sort of paper cups and just sort of random bits of computer code and all sorts of things like that. So that's where it's come from. There's the guy that I was referring to. I've just finally found his name. He was called Rainbow Man. Because I think he had a rainbow wig on or something like that. Unfortunately, he sort of went a bit mad, and that sort of leads to a rather sad story that I won't go into here. But yeah, anyway, that's where what it actually is, John 3:16. In case you ever wondered. Right, that's one to us. Let's go with Lewis for the next number, please.
Let's go for number 12.
Number 12. Is it the speed round? Yes, it is. Supply the missing words in these Russian sayings. You've got to get all three of these right in the minute. Blank 3 times, cut once. All cats are grey at blank. And when money talks, the truth is blank.
Sorry, the first one's going to annoy me. Is it fold 3 times at once? I like Magic Russian dolls or something. All cats are grey at birth.
I was thinking birth, and maybe when money talks, the truth is listening.
But certainly,
maybe the truth is expensive.
Well, that works as well.
For the first one, I was thinking measure 3 times, cut once, but that's the DIY.
I don't know where it comes from. Sorry, it looks so familiar, that one.
Yeah, I like your DIY one. I think that.
I think I'll go for that. I think all cats are great at birth. I think that's reasonable. I like listening. I think that makes poetic sense.
Or it could be like all cats are grey at dawn or dusk or something.
Well, it could be that as well.
Like
all those Russians.
Right. Can I have your 3 answers, please?
Measure, birth, listening.
Okay, you have got all right.
Oh.
So all cats are grey at night. When money talks, the truth is silent, or anything related to silent or quiet, I would have gone with. Yes, actually, quite a lot of Russian sayings are just Russian versions of ones that we have. They're just slightly transliterated into a different way. I think there was something like chickens should be counted in October or something like that, which is just like a way of saying don't count your chickens before they've hatched. So quite often they find a different way of saying the same sort of proverb. Okay, so I'm afraid that's one to us. Okay, Nick, you can choose the next one, please.
13.
13. Here we go. In order, which compass directions are represented by these hieroglyphs?
Right. I've got feast tides, and I suspect.
It's gonna be to do with the Nile, because
Yeah.
hieroglyphs of Egypt and the Nile, you would be able to sail north up the Nile without a sail because of the
Yeah.
current, is my
Yes.
thinking.
So the
paddle
second
back.
one would be north because you would just flow with the
The tide.
with the river,
Yeah.
and the first one would be south because you would need the wind.
Yeah, I think
That makes the most sense to me.
that makes sense to me as well. The Nile does go north-south, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
I actually.
And it opens on the north into the Mediterranean and the Nile Delta.
Good.
So can I just check that we haven't got it the wrong way round? Because
The current would go out towards the sea, wouldn't it? So
does
the
that
current
mean it's
goes
coming
to the north.
from the north or to the north?
To the north. So
Okay.
the without a sail is north. I'm fairly confident.
Okay.
All right, Nick, your answer, please.
South-north.
Correct.
Good one.
Yep, exactly right. Yes, the Nile goes very north-south, and obviously Nile is very, very important in Egyptian culture. And so the hieroglyph for traveling northerly is just a boat with a rudder, and you could actually row if you wanted to, but you can't do it the other way. You need wind assistance, and if you try to row, the oar would just snap because it just was far too much strain. So yes, and luckily in that region, the prevailing winds do come from the north and blow southerly. So
Oh, that's quite useful.
that's exactly. I thought that was quite neat, wasn't it? How that all worked out for them. So yeah, very good, excellent question. Okay, let's go with another one. Dan, please.
Number 5, please.
Number 5. Here we go. In 1925, Dr. Crippen almost met a sticky end when he was rescued from the locked chamber of a building on fire. In the same disaster, despite desperate attempts to save them, sportsmen, nobles, and over 40 MPs perished and many others were badly disfigured. Which London venue had burnt down?
In 1925. Sticky end. That's got to be a clue, isn't it?
It does, yeah.
So some sort of cake factory or sugar.
Badly disfigured as well.
Why were desperate? Why did sportsmen die and nobles? I mean,
Oh,
surely-
I know what it is. Is it Madame Tussauds?
Yeah, I like that. That's very good. I can see that immediately when you said it.
Because badly disfigured and they'd have melted a sticky end because obviously again the wax would have
Yeah.
Okay.
would have stuck down if they was starting to melt.
And perished does not necessarily mean died, but it
No.
was perished in a different sense. So I'm happy with that.
I think a bag is figured if they're melted.
Okay, Nick, do your worst.
Madame Tussauds.
That's right. Yeah, you got all the parts there. The only thing you didn't quite get the reasoning for was locked chamber. What would that be?
Chamber of Horrors.
Yeah, the Chamber of Horrors. Yeah, and Dr. Crippen famous mass murderer, and people were genuinely quite worried that he'd perished in the fire. So they were asking the policeman, whoever, like, how is Dr. Crippen? Is he all right? It's very strange, given that he'd, I think his case was about 10 or 15 years before that, I think. Now you can't unsee this next picture, but I will show you what it looks like after the fire. So on the left, that's what the fire looked like with all the melted bodies and everything, and then some of the rescued people you can see there on the right hand side.
I thought that looked far more horrific, and the picture actually makes it.
It took them 3 years to reopen, but by a complete stroke of luck, or maybe good planning, all the molds that they used to make these people were in a completely separate place. So I suppose you could say the fact that it only took them 3 years to reopen wasn't really that bad. So they didn't do too badly, actually.
Of course, the melted waxworks were probably inspiration for Spitting Image.
Okay. I've completely lost track of where we're going. So I think it's Lewis next, I think. Where you go?
Let's go number 7.
Number 7. Okie doke. The Wikipedia article for this 8-letter word is illustrated by an Henri Vidal sculpture of Cain after killing Abel. Since its coining in 2006, numerous stockbrokers, sports fans, and even a famous sci-fi character have been associated with this action at certain moments, and it was given its own Unicode emoji in 2016. Name the word.
Right.
Face palm or something. Like
that's
that.
not. Well, it's 8 letters. It's an answer if you can't think of anything else.
And it does make sense. That you could emoji a face palm,
But it doesn't really make sense.
I like this, and I'll tell you why. A famous sci-fi character is Jean-Luc Picard of Star Trek, and there's a famous image of him doing a face palm, which does the rounds when something silly happens. So I actually very much like that answer.
Stockbrokers do
Because
it?
there's a big financial crash in 2007.
Okay, but what about Cain killing Abel? But why?
Well, he's his brother, isn't it? So he might have regretted doing it.
Oh no! And then he does that. No,
Yeah.
it seems a bit. I'm not happy with the suggestion.
No, I really like it.
I'm actually really happy with it, with the sci-fi character thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Nick, doesn't matter how unhappy Dan is, it's up to you which answer you're going to go for.
I will use my team captaincy to say face palm.
Well, because of your team captaincy, you've got a point.
Hey. Dad is now face palming.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Every time there's a big, it wasn't necessarily just in 2007. It's like the stock, I didn't like the stock photo for stockbrokers. Whenever there's misery on the stock markets, is someone with their head in their hands. Likewise, the sports fans, if not doing too well. And you're quite right about Jean-Luc Picard. In fact, rather than me just telling you about it, why don't I show you? So yeah, that's the Wikipedia one at the top left. That's they've chosen that illustration for the Wikipedia page for face palm, and yes, the Jean-Luc Picard meme, and there's stockbrokers and the Unicode emoji. So that's all very clear, I hope. Well, we're back at that scoreline again. We always seem to end up at 4-2 most of these games. Right, Nick, I think we're back with you.
Go for number 3.
Number 3. Okie dokie. What happened to her?
Oh.
The worst fake tan ever.
Wow. She's in a car.
Well, yeah.
What does that mean?
I was going to say struck by lightning, but then if she was in a car, you wouldn't be struck by lightning.
It doesn't necessarily mean she might be struck by lightning before she's been in the car. It's not. Because you do get, if you get struck by lightning, you do get those sort of those lines on your face, and I think it's most on your back. normally.
Fulgurites or something, yes.
Yeah.
But did a giraffe? Is she in a safari park? And does a giraffe dribble down through the sunroof? It does look liquidy, doesn't it?
Just a little bit.
Yeah, especially some of the edges are quite blurry, as if something has run.
But wouldn't it run the
well,
other way round?
Oh, there are panel lines to the background. That's not a safari park, surely.
That's a good point.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, I quite like Struck by Lightning.
I think that's what I'm going for.
No.
Okay, Nick, what are you going to go for?
Should be struck by lightning.
You know when you said liquid and fake tan?
Oh!
Wow.
Yeah. So this is a teenager, a 17-year-old girl who shared this photo, and her name was Skylar Davis, and it got millions and millions of shares. So what happened was she went to the fake tan shop, got spray tanned, and then a few minutes later she got in an argument with her boyfriend, and she started crying, and she went home. Unfortunately, fake tan doesn't sort of immediately develop. It takes sort of maybe about 3-4 hours to kind of set. So you mustn't get yourself damp in any way, otherwise it will run. And if you notice the way that the streaks start from both corners of both eyes.
I see it now, yeah.
Yeah, so the tears run down her cheeks, and that's what happened. It was quite interesting, that one, because it's either one you're going to get straight away or not at all, I suppose. But there we go. I thought that was one of the easier ones, but it just goes to show. You
We overthought it. We should have just gone with my joke.
Yeah, we should have.
Yeah, well, many a true word said in jest. 4-3. Okay, that's made things a little bit more interesting. Okay, Dan, I think it's you next.
Number 6, please.
Number 6. Okay, here we go. And this has been sent in by Chris Philpott. Thanks very much. What's in the box? I can usefully travel for 35 miles, although some models can be refilled with an unleaded compound despite the misnomer. In Fahrenheit 451, Ray Bradbury named the character Professor Faber in my honor.
Right, I've seen Fahrenheit 451 the film. I cannot remember any of the characters at all. It was so long ago. What can travel for 12 miles? Electric car's my first thought as well, but it could be a hybrid car.
Or
Yeah,
what's the name of like
despite the misnomer.
I suppose if it's an electric car, but you can fill it up with petrol anyway.
Yeah, okay.
but Toyota Lexus? No, Faber was also a publishing house, isn't it?
Faber and Faber, yeah.
So of course, Fahrenheit 451, Burning of Books.
Burning of Books, yeah.
So it's how long you can write a pencil for, isn't it? So it's got lead in it, but it doesn't have lead in it, and it's all about books. So it's got to be a pencil.
Well done.
Okay, Nick, what are you going to go with?
A pencil.
Is correct.
Well done, Dan.
Well done, Dan. Or, as I know, Dan plus Google.
No.
Don't say that. It just came out of nowhere.
It did. When we started talking about books, I suddenly realised that you can have a very long pencil line.
No, I remember its facts as well after you pointed it out.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of these trivia facts that sort of quizzes know, which is why I know you might have got it. And I'm just putting it there. And although it does seem to be one of these things that just keeps getting repeated by loads of different websites, but no one actually ever knows where the fact originally came from. So anyway, I have also joined the list of queues of people that are quoting this fact. It's true, but and of course some models like propelling pencil ones you can get refills of the leads that go inside. But although they are called leads, they are no longer leaded. And in fact, sometimes they're actually some kind of weird polymer these days they're actually quite high tech. The so-called LEDs that go inside. Now that you know the answer, can you explain Professor Farber?
Is it?
Go on, sorry.
I was going to say it's either his first name or Faber is just a brand of pencil.
Yeah, it's Farber,
Aha.
which is a famous pencil company. And Ray Bradbury was just a big fan of pencils and writing generally, and so he named that character after the pencil company. I thought I was going to get you there, but no, never mind. Still, it's fairly in the balance. It's 1 to 7 is the winner, so you need 2, and the audience needs 4. Okay, Lewis, it's your turn to pick.
Let's go for number 10.
Number 10. Here we go. And this is another Chris Philpott one. I was captured on California's Highway 12 in 1998. Since then, I've been seen in windows around the world, including the White House and the Kremlin. My success has been attributed to my dreamlike quality, and despite what some say, I haven't been changed. I can't be taken again due to what's on the grapevine. What am I?
Right, it's not a raisin. Dreamlike quality. It's not. Is it eclipse or something like that? I don't know why it's specific to California.
What's in a dream? Etherealness. What's on a grapevine? Well, obviously grapes.
Grapes.
Marvin Gaye heard it on the grapevine. Ooh.
What's been seen in windows around the world, including the White House and the Kremlin, since 1998?
San Francisco, LA. I don't know where Highway 12 is. I'm just trying to think of Californian cities.
And why is it successful?
What do you capture on a highway? Speed limit?
Best of British, Nick. What are you going to go for?
We're going to go for a box of California raisins.
No, that is not the correct answer. All right.
I had a feeling.
So if I tell you that if what was captured was a photograph,
Yeah. I figured that might be the case.
I
Okay,
figured that as well, but I mean, that doesn't go anywhere, so.
right?
Why
it's a
didn't you say?
It's a photograph. It's a photograph in California. It can't be taken again because there's grapevines now in this particular field,
Oh, okay.
It's not Death Valley or anything like that.
and it's been seen in windows around the world.
Oh God, Windows. Yeah.
Oh dear.
So yes, it's the black background for Windows XP, and there's quite often a story if there's a photojournalist occasionally allowed into things like the White House, major incident bunker. Quite often on the background there'll be a computer that's just got the Windows XP background on. And people find that funny for some reason, that the White House uses computers the same as everybody else does. And people have tried to recreate the photo, and there's one of the various attempts is seen at the bottom right of that picture. But there's various grapevines and things there now, so it's very hard to recreate anymore. And the slight R at the end was a very minor hint towards its name, which is Bliss. The man that took the photo was paid something in the order of over $100,000 for it, but he had to sign over the entire rights to it to Microsoft. So they said, well, you've got to send us the original and sign some paperwork. But the post system wouldn't allow him to send it because it was worth more than the maximum insurance value. so that they bought a plane ticket to come and deliver it in person to the office, because that was the only way that they could get it there.
Wow.
Yeah. So all that for just a picture that you thought was just in the background of your of your software. Anyway, so that means it's 1-1 as far as the Chris Philpott stakes go, but it's 5-4 as far as the stakes in today's match are. And we're back with Nick, I believe.
Number 2.
Number 2. Okay. Here we go. The Russian botanist Nikolai Vavilov spent 1924 in Afghanistan to study their farming culture. He noticed that in Herat province, they had hundreds of huge dovecotes. Apart from food, why did they need so many pigeons?
Like carrier pigeons. I suppose it wasn't much a postal service in
messages.
Afghanistan.
Is it something to do with fertilization, maybe?
That's what farming culture. That makes sense. Guano.
What would you grow in Afghanistan? Maybe cotton or poppies, maybe?
Wait, I'm edging towards the fertilizer answer, I think, because I think that fits with farming culture. Because I suppose it's mostly desert, isn't it? I suppose so. It probably wouldn't get much livestock.
And they wouldn't need. They need more fertilizer than messages, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need hundreds of messages, that's for sure.
No. How are your crops doing? All right. Yeah.
Okay, Nick, your answer, please.
Fertilizer.
Yeah, that's right. Well done. And you got the right reasons too. It's Afghanistan. It's a very sort of difficult area to cultivate anything, and so they used the bird droppings to help put nutrients back into the soil. Now, this I couldn't find a 1924 picture from Afghanistan, but I do have one from Egypt, which gives you the sort of rough idea. So you can see some of these things are as big as like a 2 or 3 story building, and there's must be 150 of them there.
They've got more room than I have. That's not fair.
And each of those must have several hundred birds in each. So if you're walking back from work, I imagine you got to take an umbrella with you every day.
Or at least wear a fez.
Well, it's essentially good luck, at least, if you do get hit. So I don't know how it works out.
We've got very lucky people in Egypt there, yeah. But that's so important that they have to even include it as part of their urban planning when they're developing a new area of the city. They've got to build in some of these things in the right places, otherwise it won't work for their farmers. Okay, 6-4. So you just need one more to win. 3 questions left, and stand to pick.
Number 4, please.
Number 4. In 1933, activist Chowdhury Ramat Ali wrote in his pamphlet Now or Never that 30 million Muslim brethren lived in 5 eastern regions of the British Raj: Punjab, Afghania, Kashmir, Sindh, and Balochistan. How is this approximate region known today?
I have no idea. I don't want to say it immediately in case it's not quite right, but I think it's Pakistan. Because that's actually, I might be wrong. Actually,
there's a lot more than 30 million people in Pakistan, surely.
1933, though.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I'm sure somewhere that it was a country that was made up. It wasn't. It was all put together from offshoots. It's an offshoot of India.
But if you look at the first letters, P-A-K, that's a good start.
Yeah, it's good.
It's
in
and
B.
Pakistan at the end.
Yeah. That's. I quite like my answer. That wouldn't sound too arrogant.
I don't have anything better to say, so go for it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it started off as an offshoot of India. It broke off.
Okay, Nick, for the win, what are you going to go with?
Pakistan.
It's right.
Yay!
So yeah, you could either go and look at the the marvelous clue I hid in there of all the first letters, or you could just go
That's good.
1933. That's about right. Yes, so yeah, just to spell it out there, that's how it works. It was Pakistan, which is what he came up with, and then a little bit later, someone just said, well, it would be easier to say if you slipped an I in there. So basically, the name from Pakistan is an acronym. Which, I was stunned by when I first came across that fact.
Good fact.
So that means you've won, and it's 7-4. But as we always do, we always polish off the last remaining questions. So, Lewis, why don't you pick one?
Number 11.
Number 11. Okie doke. According to dictionary definitions, I am the same length as something I ought to avoid. Name both me and it.
Oof.
Right, it's a picture of a fish. Why is that? Trout. I am the same length as something I ought to avoid.
You want to avoid a trap.
Is that length of fish or is it length of word?
Oh yes, yes.
What? Foot. Well, that makes sense. You don't really study, do you?
No. Yeah.
But name me in it. It's not. It's a different word. To there's two separate answers we need here.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it? It's
I do not know that fish. Carp, trout, pike. Pike.
Stand on it, couldn't you? That'd be bad. That's a length thing. I think that's not a bad guess.
Well, it's the only guess you got. So what are you going to go with?
Pike and pike.
Okay, so it's not right.
Oh.
So it's according to different dictionary definitions. Okay, so this fish and something it tries to avoid. If you look at the definitions for both words, it comes up with the same length in terms of like this is a particular length. Okay,
Right.
Name something that a fish might try and avoid.
A fishing line.
Net.
Line. Net.
Well, what's at the end of the line? Well, also what is the line part of?
A rod.
A rod.
A
Okay.
rod is a length as well.
Mm-hmm. And do you know any other lengths that might also be names of fish? Never see not. Okay, I'll tell you the answer is. It's a perch.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so the dictionary definition for a perch is 16.5 feet or 5.5 yards. And it's an imperial measure. And quite by coincidence, it's also got another name, which is rod or indeed pole. Actually, if you can have a fishing pole, that's quite acceptable as well. But perch and rod are probably the better known two. So, according to the dictionary definitions, they are the same length, 5.5 yards. So there we are. Okay. So it would have been 7-5, and we've got number 8 left to go, which is this. Name the Hollywood star from his biography. While less than a week old, his French home was hit by a World War I bomb, so he was smuggled aboard a ship bound for America. 7 years later, he was earning $6,000 a week from acting in movies and his own radio show. His 30 films are said to have saved Warner Brothers. He died in the arms of Jean Harlow on August the 10th, 1932.
It's not. Is it not something like Charlie Chaplin or Marcel Marceau? Charlie Chaplin would certainly be that sort of time, but did he have his own radio show though?
It's got to be someone very, very young, because if he was less than a week old and it was World War
yeah.
I,
Oh, is it?
he was only 20.
Is it Lassie? Because Lassie's actually a male dog. And if that'd be about 15, 20 years, 7 years later, if it's less than a week old, and then 7 years later in the films, that would sound about right. It's a radio show. Actually, no, it doesn't make sense. Dog.
Lassie
Can
would
a dog have a radio show?
There might have been a Lassie radio show. There was radio shows for everything back then.
I mean, it's just World War One would have been mid 1910s, and he died in 1932, so he wouldn't be an old person. He'd be very young still.
Okie doke. Give me an answer, please.
I'll hazard a guess at Lassie.
Okay. Hit the crossbar.
No.
Oh,
Yeah. Lassie was 1940s onwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got the basic joke. Was that he obviously. I think he died age 13, but it could have been anybody 13 to 18. So whoever it was someone who died as a teenager. And apart from Shirley Temple, I can't think of any. Well, she only died a couple of years ago, I think. I can't think of anybody else that would fit the bill. So you got the basic.
Dying in someone's arms. I can sort of imagine them being literally being held by someone.
Yeah.
Like that,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think she was just a neighbour, and she sort of just popped round and comforted him in his last day.
Did you ever listen to a Rin Tin Tin radio show?
So apparently it did exist, and he did his own sound effects. Incredible thing, isn't it? Okay, so if you'd picked different numbers, it would have been extremely exciting. As it was, it finished with you still in front anyway, so it's all in good fun. But 7-6 is the official score, and so it's a win for the team this time. If you want to send in your questions for any future episode, we would love to have them. Please send them into questions@QWERTYUYOP.co.uk. And if you don't know what QWERTYUYOP means, you're probably not the right sort of person to send in questions for the show. So until next time, thanks very much to Daniel Peake.
Goodbye.
Lewis Murphy.
bye-bye.
And victorious team captain, Nick Gates.
Goodbye.
I've been David Bodycombe. Thanks for listening, and see you again next time. Bye-bye.